Every motivational speaker tells people to be themselves. You might have heard the famous quote of Oscar Wilde, "Be yourself, everyone else is already taken." There is nothing wrong with this statement, as it is completely true, but there is one question that remains unanswered. Can anyone in the world be himself or herself without first finding out who he or she really is? That's just not possible. That's where the great German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophies come in handy. He is one of the few philosophers who explored the questions of life beyond the horizon of good or evil. Nietzsche once said, "Finding yourself is one of the most fundamental endeavours of life." Born in 1844, Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the most celebrated and renowned philosophers of the past 200 years. A student of classical philology, he was a thinker whose ideas extended far beyond the bounds of any one discipline. While his work has been subjected to a great deal of criticism, primarily due to its controversial nature, Nietzsche remains an important figure in philosophy and in the history of ideas. He believed that self-education is the key to finding oneself, and traditional education only served to indoctrinate students and hinder their ability to think for themselves. He felt that true education should teach students how to think about their own personal goals and find their own unique paths in life. In order to find one's true path in life, it is necessary to educate oneself in a way that suited one's individual needs and interests. In Friedrich Nietzsche's The Gay Science, the philosopher offers his insights on how to live a fulfilling life. He believes that in order to be truly happy, we must first find ourselves. This, however, is no easy task. It requires a great deal of self-awareness and introspection. In this video, we will explore Nietzsche's philosophy on how to find yourself and reveal the 4 steps to discovering your true meaning. Before that, please hit the subscribe button to stay on the channel and discover more philosophical videos on finding happiness and success in life. Knowing oneself is the first step to the meaning of existence. But Nietzsche reminds us that the path to finding ourselves is no light stroll. It is a dark and mysterious business. To dig into oneself, to climb down directly into the tunnel of one's being, is an agonizing and hazardous undertaking. The journey through that tunnel requires us to question ourselves. We aren't born knowing who we are, we have to become it. Personal development, according to Nietzsche, is something inexorably linked to perseverance and transformation. It is only when we endure challenges that we improve. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The obstacle is the way. Hardship isn't a barrier to growth, it is the source of it." Here is Nietzsche's 4 steps to finding one's true self. Number 1. The higher man requires his solitude and freedom from the herd. Nietzsche says that the first and the foremost thing that has to be done on the journey to find ourselves is to separate ourselves from the herd mentality. Don't follow the herd and their concepts. You might ask, what is this herd mentality? Herd mentality is the thought process that advocates sameness of ideas and point of view, prefers comfort over misery and suffering, and supports the preservation of existing values and system, even if it is wrong, outdated, or harmful. People belonging to such a mentality reject anything new and unique, which is even slightly different from their viewpoint. One of the fundamental arguments of such people is, "This is morally wrong." Nietzsche believed that morality is just a fiction used by the herd of inferior human beings to hold back the few superior men, because superior men have the determination to do those things for which inferior men couldn't even muster the required courage. Nietzsche says that those with the potential to rise above the mediocre mass are pressured into becoming a smaller, almost ridiculous type, a herd animal, something eager to please, sickly, and mediocre. Morality is imposed to control human behavior. Such control often limits the individuality of a person and results in the death of creativity. That's why most people today suffer from emptiness, because they can't discover what their passion is. The ones who do get a glimpse of something unique inside them become rebellious, and all of their energy is wasted in breaking the societal chains, leaving none left for creative work. Ultimately, they end up choosing the wrong paths in life. Hence, repression is the cause of evil in our society. However, if the society were flexible with the views and rules, then those who have different views don't have to be rebellious to do whatever they want to. Society ostracizes anyone who is slightly different from it. We all have been made fun of by our peers in the school because we did something different from the acceptable standards, or simply because we looked different. Such incidents instill lifelong fears in the minds of children. They then don't want to stand out in fear of being rejected by their peers. That's why standing out seems so terrifying and dangerous to us. We are afraid of the unknown. The brutal reality is, most people are afraid of the change. They are afraid to see anything changing not only in themselves but also in anyone in their vicinity. They want to live in the past forever. But why are they so scared of the change? They are afraid because they don't want to accept that they haven't realized their potential till now. And having so many years wasted without discovering, they fear they might die without ever realizing their real potential. Such acceptance is terrifying. The realization is so scary that the only way to make it not true is to pull the ones climbing the ladder down to their level. In his masterpiece, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Friedrich Nietzsche presents a beautiful and profound metaphor for human evolution which explains the herd mentality. 3 metamorphoses of the spirit have I designated to you, how the spirit became a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child, he says. Nietzsche believed that there are 3 transformations in the 4 stages of self-development. His first transformation, from sheep to camel, explains the herd mentality. We start out as sheep and find comfort being part of a herd, to congregate and get lost in the crowd, trying not to get noticed, being invisible, and following a path that has already been set out. Sheep have an aversion for taking any kind of risk, for taking any responsibility for themselves or others. For those who excel at being sheepish, wandering off on a different path doesn't really cross their minds. To do so would put them in danger. It would be foolish and unnecessary. Some are happy to stay as sheep, but for others, acting sheepish doesn't do it. Being invisible and anonymous does not suit them. It doesn't feel authentic. For those others, wandering off on a different path is something that brings meaning to their lives, and by striving to be more, one undergoes the first transformation, leaving the safety and comfort of the herd to become something better, to become a camel. Realizing oneself is breaking free from the herd mentality and creating one's path. The first step to getting freedom from the herd mentality is developing a sense of questioning. We have been conditioned to be afraid of our true individuality by society, which includes our parents, our teachers, our friends, our media, our culture, our religion, and our government. Question everyone and everything. It doesn't mean post your views on social media. That's again rushing to another type of herd. You don't know yet whether or not you are right, so you have to question even yourself. Don't rush to accept a thought. Just learn to stay with your thoughts in solitude. Nothing more has to be done. Continue questioning without concluding. Number 2, embrace the difficulty and misery of self-discovery. Let's accept it, we are all a bunch of couch potatoes. However, it's not entirely our fault. Technology and unimaginable progress have made us so. We don't have to toil for anything. There is an app to deliver food to us. The vehicles are there to take us anywhere without us getting tired. We don't have to put much effort to get things for which our ancestors ran pillar to post. As a result, we have forgotten that suffering is an integral part of life. Thus, whenever life makes us suffer a little bit, we think the universe is acting against us and everyone is happy except for us. We all want to spend the day like a king, but we want to sleep soundly at night like a tired laborer. How can we get both? It's not possible. Sound sleep is the reward of toiling the entire day. It's only when we are willing to face the challenge of life that we grow spiritually. Suffering is important for growth. It is integral to growth. When a piece of iron is heated and beaten up, then only it becomes strong enough to support a building. Embracing difficulty prepares it for the future. To find yourself and to discover your true potential, Nietzsche says you must choose the difficult path, the first of which is isolation. Isolation is necessary because we have been primed by society since childhood. All what-ifs and irrational fears are the results of years of priming, and time is required to unlearn all those fallacious self-doubts. This unlearning process cannot happen if we keep living among the ones who instilled those doubts in us. Before you consider taking this path, a word of caution. Isolation means changing your lifestyle. It means giving up friendship and relationships, even blood ones, until you find yourself. Because only when you are alone can you look deep, straight into the eyes of your fears. Only then you can analyze the cause of your deepest emotions. To isolate yourself and find your own path, you will want to consider these steps. Step 1. Isolate yourself. Wait for the emotions to dominate you. Step 2. Once emotions become hard to bear, acknowledge them. Just tell yourself that you are feeling this emotion. For example, saying I am feeling angry, I am feeling sad. Step 3. Write the possible reason for feeling that emotion in a diary. If you can't think of one, leave the reason column empty for now. Come back later. However, if you can see but can't accept something as the possible reason, do not ignore it. Write it down then and there. Nietzsche says the struggle is inner. The struggle to find yourself is a much more difficult quest that requires a very different kind of sacrifice. This sacrifice comes with isolation. Isolation has the power to show you things you don't even think exist. This exercise will be very frightening at first, especially when you have to accept some truth about your loved ones. Do not cave in and take the easy path. Be with your own self. Be your own strength. Otherwise, you'll go through life in a meaningless way, suffering each passing day, just living without being alive. As Bob Marley once said, you never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. Learn to embrace your dark side. Become friends with the darkness inside you. Challenge your inner demons. Sit with the thoughts that you never tell anyone, not even yourself. Do not suppress them. However wild and frightening they might be, accept them. There is a deep meaning they always have been carrying. You'll see them eventually, and I promise you'll rise above them. Nietzsche also believed that the individual must be willing to embrace suffering in order to achieve greatness. He famously said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." This means that when you face adversity and overcome it, you become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of achieving your goals. Number 3. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Nietzsche says the one who has discovered the real why of being born into this world can bear almost any obstacles, misery, or failure. To find the why which fits our personality, we have to say yes to everything and anything which even remotely gives meaning to our lives. Nietzsche suggests 3 steps to find meaning in life. Step 1. Replacing religion. You can replace religion with philosophy, art, literature, theater, history, or any other part of humanity. Humanities offer us the ability to investigate our sufferings and efforts in depth. They help us see how our lives are similar to those around us. They develop a sense of empathy in us and teach us how we should tackle problems we all ought to face in life. What you have to do is choose one of the subjects of humanities and study it as a passion, neither as an academic subject nor to impress someone with cool facts. You can start by reading history not just for the dates and facts, but for what those facts tell you. Watch a sad movie not just to pass time, but to understand the beauty and sad events of life. Step 2. Becoming Übermensch. If humanities don't interest you, the second way Nietzsche suggests to find meaning in life is to become an Übermensch. Übermensch literally translates into Superman, however, this is nothing like the DC Clark Kent. Übermensch refers to our most powerful and intellectual selves. Nietzsche claims that human is a bridge between animal and Übermensch. This means he has come quite far from being an animal, but the animal inside him has not died yet. That's why he is the bridge, and his final goal is to become a superhuman. An Übermensch is a superhuman who creates his own meaning and values without getting influenced by anything outside his being. According to Nietzsche, only a few men in history came close to being an Übermensch, namely Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Buddha, and Goethe. To walk on the path to becoming an Übermensch, you need to reconsider your whole life and ask yourself what you really like and what you like just because society wants you, expects you, or tells you to like it. You have to find your own meaning and gladly own it. Do not borrow it from some ancient book or a motivational speaker. Society may ostracize you or even kill you. Still, you have to take full responsibility for it. Step 3. Amor fati. Amor fati literally means the love of fate. Nietzsche, in the third way, tells us to love our life, no matter what it has in it, had in it, or will have in it. We have to love our fate. We have to learn to celebrate everything that has happened in our life, the good, the bad, the heartbreak, the failure, the lost love, the withered relationship, the forgotten friendship, the dejection, the suffering, the delays, the lost opportunities. Without all those happening in the exact intensity and sequence, we wouldn't be what we are today. As we start loving our fate, we see the uniqueness in our journey. We'll see how beautiful it has been so far, Our life has been so beautiful so far that we can't even imagine. The problem is that we remember bad events far too much, leaving no room for the good moments in our memory. But once you start appreciating every passing second, you'll find the meaning out of chaos and absurdity in your life. Number 4. Your true values are better than any borrowed values of the highest order. What if someday or night a demon were to steal into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, "This life as you now live and have lived it, you will have to live once again and innumerable times again, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unspeakably small or great in your life must return to you, all in the same succession and sequence, even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and you yourself. Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus?" Nietzsche says if our life were to be repeated an innumerable number of times, we might get disappointed and sad, because the very first thought we have is that we have to live through every pain once again. We don't even consider that all the happy events will also be repeated. This is because we are carrying the greatest weight of the past on our shoulders. Nietzsche says the greatest weight is the feeling that crushes us into repeating past mistakes because of the unevaluated values we adopt from society. This includes all the painful events of the past that makes us suffer when we repeat them over and over again in our mind. To lift the greatest weight, we need to create our own values in life. To create such values, simply ask yourself, what am I doing? In this job, in academics, in the relationship, in friendship. Be true to yourself just once and answer this. Is what you are doing really meaningful, or are you just acting out what this society thinks is right? Ask yourself, can you repeat what you are doing an innumerable number of times? The job, the subjects in college, the relationship, no matter how many times society tells you that everyone lives the same way, ask yourself, are they worth repeating eternally? If your answer is they are not, then you are a slave to your society, and worse yet, a slave to yourself. Society is afraid of your wild nature. It is afraid of your naturalness, so it starts cutting your wings from childhood. They shape you the way they were shaped by their ancestors. In essence, creating your own values means becoming the author of your own life. You must take ownership of your beliefs, passions, and aspirations, and use them to guide your decisions and actions. This requires a willingness to question the status quo and think for yourself. Nietzsche believed that traditional values and beliefs are often imposed on us by society as a means of control. He famously said, "You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist." This means that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to living a fulfilling life. We must each create our own values and beliefs based on our unique experiences and perspectives. Creating your own values requires a deep sense of self-awareness and self-acceptance. You must be willing to explore your own beliefs and question the beliefs that society has imposed on you. This can be a difficult and sometimes uncomfortable process, but it is essential if you want to live a life of purpose and meaning. So how can we apply Nietzsche's ideas to our own lives? How can we find ourselves through existentialism? First and foremost, we need to be willing to question the beliefs and values that we have inherited from our society and culture. We need to be willing to think for ourselves and to create our own values based on our own experiences and insights. This requires a great deal of self-reflection and introspection. Secondly, we need to be willing to confront our fears and weaknesses. We need to be willing to take risks and to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. This requires a great deal of courage and determination. Finally, we need to channel our will to power into productive and creative pursuits. We need to find ways to express ourselves and to make a meaningful contribution to the world around us. It is clear that Nietzsche's teachings are as relevant today as they were when he first penned them. He believed that life has no inherent meaning and that it is up to each individual to create their own purpose and forge their own path. He taught us that to find ourselves, we must first strip away the layers of societal conditioning and expectations that have been forced upon us. We must break free from the chains of conformity and embrace our true selves, our desires, and our passions. It is only by doing this that we can live a truly authentic life. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." And this is exactly what we must do. We must embrace our flaws, our quirks, and our individuality. But finding ourselves is not an easy task. It requires courage, determination, and a willingness to face our fears. We must confront the darkness within ourselves, the parts that we would rather hide away. We must be willing to challenge ourselves and push ourselves beyond our limits. We must also learn to accept the harsh realities of life. Nietzsche believed that suffering was an essential part of the human experience, and that we must learn to embrace it as a necessary component of growth. It is through adversity that we are able to find strength and resilience. As Nietzsche said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. So take ownership of yourself, find yourself, and live a life of authenticity and purpose. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to stay on the channel and get more videos like this.